Hello and welcome everyone to the news today, April 24th. There are 4 main news and 8 quick updates and one place in the news which is Egypt. So let's quickly go through the news headlines so that we can discuss each news item one by one. The first main news is about the overall view or review of the insurance sector in India. The second is about role of artificial intelligence in finance. The third is about contamination of groundwater. The two chief pollutants here are, or contaminants are, arsenic and fluoride ions especially. The last main news is about the first gene therapy to be approved to cure genetic hearing loss or hearing loss of genetic origin. The quick updates are, the government has launched structured pulse procurement under Atmanirbharta for pulses or Atmanirbhar pulses mission, because mostly cereal grains are procured by the government, but because India wants to become self-sufficient as regards consumption and production of pulses, that's why this new scheme was launched. The second is about Strait of Malacca. Malacca Strait is also one of the important choke points, just like your Strait of Hormuz, and because Strait of Hormuz is in the news because of the due to the ongoing conflict between Israel and Iran, Malacca Strait also holds a lot of importance, especially for China, because China's 80% oil imports pass through that strait. Next is about Namaste scheme, which has achieved a certain milestone, and this scheme is for to provide support to manual scavengers, especially eliminating this concept of manual scavenging. Next is about sacred relics of Tathagat Buddha. That means some personal belongings or bodily remains of Tathagat Buddha or Gautam Buddha will be displayed in Ladakh. The next news item is about India's economy projection related to Indian economy by a United Nations body, which is Economic and Social Council for Asia Pacific. Okay, it shows that India has already attained macroeconomic stability, but the growth rate for this year and the next year are below 7. Next, it's about a tornado which took place in one of the south central states of the United States called Oklahoma. Okay, and tornadoes are similar to cyclones, but the reasons behind the formation of tornadoes are different from that of cyclones, and they do not depend upon Coriolis force. Okay, basically they are dependent upon vertical shear. We'll discuss that. Another important piece, not very important piece of news is about the discovery of a frog species. But as several frog species keep getting discovered in the Western Ghats, this time it is in the northeastern India. You don't need to remember the names. Just try to focus upon the genus name. Okay, it's a special type of frog that builds nests, and it has a fork shaped thing on its tongue. The last quick update is about a body which is called CGT-MSE, which is Credit Guarantee Trust for MSMEs, okay, which observed its 25 years. And as I said in the beginning, the place in the news is Egypt. So let's start with the first main news, which is insurance sector in India. Okay, as per a body based in Switzerland called Swiss Re, several important salient features of Indian insurance sector have been highlighted. Okay, and this is very important from the point of view of your GS mains exam. A question can be asked about critically examining the insurance sector in India and how it has made progress in the last decade. Okay, it is growing, but it is nowhere close to the largest insurance market in the world, which is the United States. Okay, but India is one of the top 10 countries when it comes to the size of the insurance market. But there are various metrics to measure the progress in the insurance sector, which are insurance density, insurance penetration. These are two important metrics. What is insurance density? It is the total insurance premium divided by the population of a country. You may ask, what is insurance premium? Insurance premium, and before that you would like to know what is insurance. Insurance is actually a financial agreement between a policy holder and an insurer, and the insurer promises to compensate for your financial losses. And to make that or to keep that agreement active, you have to pay a certain amount of money, which is called premium. Okay, and the total premium of a country shows how large the insurance sector of that economy is. And that is why, as I said, we have two important metrics. One is insurance density, which is a measure of the total insurance premium per population divided by the total population. That means per capita insurance premium. Another is insurance penetration. Okay, which is the total premium as a percentage of the GDP of that economy. Okay, if you look at insurance density, India's insurance density is close to some less than 100 US dollars. That means if we calculate or make a sum of the total insurance premiums paid by each and every individual in the country and divide it by the population, you get 100 US dollars, which is very low. In the United States, it's close to 8,000 US dollars. So nearly 80 times greater. So now you can see where India stands as compared to the United States. Okay, so there are several other metrics. Let's go through. Okay, and what is India's insurance penetration as a part of GDP? It is 3.7%. Okay, the insurance penetration of United States is also not very high. Why? Because here you're calculating as a percentage of GDP. Okay, if the GDP is very high, then the value will come down because it is a part of the denominator. Because the United States has the largest or the highest GDP in the entire world. That is why the value is very close. It's close to 11%. But please try to compare the insurance density of the United States with that of India. Okay, so let's start. Here you will get all the important points that you can add in your mains answer. India ranks 10th globally in insurance market size. Fact number 1, very important. 10th. Okay. First it's US, China, Japan. Okay. In terms of insurance density, which I defined just 5 minutes ago, the highest is that of Taiwan, as I could find in the internet, which is close to 20. Insurance penetration, sorry, it's 20%. Okay. In India's case, it is 3.7%. In United States case, it's 11%. Okay. And it does vary from year to year. On an average, you can see it is higher than 10%, but in India's case, it's below 5%. But in the case of Taiwan, it is 20%. Life insurance share is 2.7%. Of this 3.7%, 2.7 plus 1 let's split it. This belongs to life insurance sector. This one is general insurance. Anything that is not life insurance, like health insurance, property insurance, fire insurance, okay, or vehicle insurance, these are all part of general insurance. Okay, non-life insurance share is 1% of the GDP. This one. Insurance density recorded at US dollar 97 per capita, which is below 100 for India, and the same value was 8,000 US dollar for the USA, which is probably the highest in the entire world. That means people are so very aware of the various insurance products and they do buy insurance products. But here in India, there is a slight hesitation. People think there is a chance of getting cheated by the insurance companies. Okay, but India is making a lot of progress gradually. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, India's rank was even below. Premium growth projected at 6.9% during 2026 to 30. Okay, so you can look at the growth rate, which is decent enough. The US has the largest market share in the insurance sector. If 100 rupees is spent at the global level by different individuals, okay, 44%, nearly 44% comes from the United States. That is the market share. Okay, different values, different figures. It will take some time to get assimilated, but if you have memorized all these points, you can write a very good answer. You'll have good solid fodder points for your mains answer. Steps taken to boost insurance sector, which is the Insurance Regulatory Development Authority of India, which has set a target year of 2047, and the motto or the target is insurance for all. That means wide coverage. FDI limit has also been raised. That means private foreign players can also take part in the insurance sector. So that will make the market more competitive. Policy holders won't be cheated because they will have several options, and they can also use their foreign expertise, okay, to come up with much better products for the Indian market. GST has been removed, okay. That is why the premium amount, the net amount paid by the policyholder now has come down, okay. For example, 100 rupees के ऊपर 18% पहले लगता था, तो 10,000 rupees, ठीक है, तो कितना होगा 18%, nearly 1800 rupees you had to pay extra. Now this is gone. Health insurance moratorium period reduced to 5 years. This is very important. Sometimes what happens, you keep paying the premiums, but nothing happens. That is why that money is gone. Now insurance companies, they often get into foul plays. Even if your case is genuine and you are expected to be compensated by the company rejects your proposal or request. So now for that, the insurance companies used to say that at least 7 to 8 years के लिए pay कर दो. That means you're a genuine and a valuable customer or client for us. If something happens, we'll consider your case. Okay, 8 to 10 years or more than that. The government said it should be 5 years. If for 5 years somebody is continuously paying the premiums, his case should not be outrightly rejected. Okay, unless and until it is a case of fraud. Now there are several government insurance schemes also, because there are many poor people in this country. As per many data, 25% to 30%, it does vary. The population, this much percentage of the population is below the poverty line, BPL. Now how will they afford for these insurance schemes? They cannot go to a private company to buy an insurance product. For those people, for such people, the government of India has come up with several insurance schemes, starting with life insurance and health insurance. So Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana, okay, and this provides 2 lakh rupees life insurance cover for death due to any reason, okay. PMSBY Suraksha Bima Yojana, this is accidental insurance scheme. If you become disabled or if somebody dies due to an accident, then just by paying 20 rupees premium, he can buy the insurance product. The last is very important, the most popular one, which is Jan Arogya Yojana under Ayushman Bharat. Okay, 5 lakh rupees per year per family. Okay, good enough. So you can, but these are government insurance schemes, okay, to provide social security. Let's go through a question. A direct question on insurance has not been asked yet, but very interesting question was asked some 5 years ago. In India, under cyber insurance, we are focusing on cyber insurance, which is a type of non-life insurance or general insurance. Okay. For individuals, which of the following benefits are generally covered in addition to payment for the funds and other benefits? Cost of restoration of this computer system in case of malware disrupting access to one's computer. Okay, malware disrupt kar deta. Malware is actually a bad software which can damage your computer system. Software, it cannot physically affect, it can affect the software. And cyber security is basically software related insurance. Cost of a new computer if some miscreant willfully damages it, if proved so, damages your computer, not the software. That means physically. And here we are talking about cyber insurance. Do you think if your computer breaks, but the software is not damaged, only the hardware is damaged, the company will compensate for that? No. So 2 is the option that you can use to eliminate 3 options from ABCD. A is incorrect because 2 cannot be correct. This is the correct answer, as C has 2 and D has 2. You can go through the 2 other options. The key point is cyber insurance does not cover physical damage. Cost of hiring a specialized consultant to minimize the loss in case of cyber extortion, yes, that is also covered. Okay, it can be covered. The amount of money varies from product to product. And the cost of defense, just like your motor vehicle insurance, if you are held accountable for or liable for some problem, somebody else, he alleges that you created some problem for him. So this is if you have this insurance coverage, for example, if your vehicle strikes another vehicle, the damage caused to the other vehicle will be covered by your insurance product. Similarly, it will also be covered. Moving to the next role of artificial intelligence, the next main news in finance. This is a very generic topic. Very generic topic. Only two products we have to remember. Okay, how artificial intelligence is helping the financial sector in India, especially the banking sector. What are the challenges associated with AI? The good side, the positive side, and the negative side. Let's go through. AI reshapes customer service, risk monitoring, and regulatory oversight. Okay, many of the points you'll find repeated. Okay, enables intuitive multilingual chatbot-based customer interactions. Okay, now see, risk monitoring is one of the important thing that banks focus upon. You know this concept of non-performing assets. Okay, banks lend, and people, they go for loans. Many of them end up being defaulters. They find it difficult to pay back the loan they took from a particular bank. Now banks suffer losses. So there is this loss minimization technique. Using artificial intelligence or using different machine learning algorithms, you can decide which customer will pay back a loan and which customer will fail, depending upon the past history. Okay, they use a technique called logistic regression. Very basic technique. There are many hi-fi techniques also. This technique is also used to detect fraud. That means the computer, this model will understand by looking at past messages which is a genuine message and which is a fraud message. Okay, based on that it can detect. The algorithm uses called logistic regression. Similarly, they can also decide the probability of default by using logistic regression. Again, the same model. They also use another algorithm called linear regression. You don't need to remember the names. Okay. So you know that supervised models and unsupervised models, you must have come across these terms. Okay. Here there are labeled messages, and in a way we feed information into the system to differentiate a normal email or message from an abnormal email. Okay. That means we used supervised learning. They are given proper labeled data. Okay. Another linear regression can be used to decide the correct interest rate for different customers who have performed really well, and you want to incentivize your favorite customers. Okay. So these models are used in risk monitoring and regulatory oversight. Enables intuitive multilingual chatbot based customer interactions, just like ChatGPT, natural language processing, NLP. This is another algorithm. This is what SDFC is doing now. They have this system which is called EVA. We'll come across that later in the next page. Okay. So these are the various ways in which AI can be used in banks. Okay. One is customer interaction, another is regulatory oversight and risk monitoring. Just try to memorize these points after understanding those properly. Enhances credit delivery using behavioral transaction data. This is related to risk monitoring. Behavior means customer behavior. If you know that a particular customer has defaulted before, will you be willing to give him a new loan? Even if you are ready, you will raise the interest rate. Okay, because you know the principal amount cannot be returned back. Detects fraud through anomaly identification and pattern recognition. As I said, pattern recognition is another. We use neural networks also. Okay, advanced mechanism. But one of the ways is to, as I explained earlier, logistic regression. Fraud hai ki nahi, you can decide. Supports compliance via large scale data analysis systems. Okay. So large scale data analysis systems, the same thing. Data analysis sits behind data science, which sits behind machine learning and ultimately artificial intelligence. Risks, what are the risks? Risk of biased outcomes due to flawed training data. See, whatever AI models you create, you used data. Data forms the backbone of any AI model. If data is flawed, your model can be flawed. A genuine customer may be looked at with mistrust. Okay, why? Because maybe using a model, you figured out that a potential client is not a genuine client or he may default. But the reality is that the client is genuine. but your model said that he is fraud or he will default. Why? Because your model is a poor model. Poor model can say that this candidate is not genuine. He is a fraud or a defaulter. So that has some risk. Black box nature. Sometimes even if you're getting good results, being a banker or any of the banking officials, you will not be able to understand what is the logic the model is applying. In a way you can say, although you're happy with the results, but you're not able to understand the logic, the underlying logic that the model is using. Okay, so that is called black box or opacity. Okay, and of course it is very distressing. Although you're getting good results, and if you don't know the logic that the system is using or applying, you'll be kept in the dark. Raises concerns about sensitive financial data privacy. As I said, data forms the backbone of any AI model. How the stored data is being used, it has a potential of being misused also. Model concentration risk affects large financial ecosystem. Model concentration means if a faulty model is used by all the banks, okay, that means this is not decentralized, it's not diffused. The same model is used where no matter which bank you approach, you'll get the same denial. Let's say, no, we are not going to give you loans. Why? Because our model says that you have a potential to default. But the model is faulty itself. And surprisingly or shockingly, all the banks are using the same model. Cyber risks include AI-driven phishing and deepfake attacks. These problems existed before AI came also. The traditional cyber security risks. What are the instances of AI applications you can remember? SBI uses AI assistants and fraud detection systems. And this EVA chatbot is used by HDFC to attend or take your queries. Okay. The next main news is about arsenic and fluoride contamination of groundwater. Just a couple of days ago, we discussed the case of Salween River. Salween River, which is a river which passes through China, Myanmar and Thailand. And the context was arsenic pollution. Here the context is India. And there are two contaminants, arsenic and fluoride. Arsenic is mostly of geological origin. I mean arsenic contamination. Sometimes because of leaching, as was the case of Salween River. But fluoride is mostly anthropogenic, agricultural waste, fertilizers and all that. Okay. So what is the context? The context is that NBT has directed the state governments and tasked the Central Groundwater Authority with the responsibility of monitoring the state's performance, whether or not they're able to keep the contaminations in check. That is the context. Okay. NGT, National Green Tribunal, directs states to mitigate groundwater contamination issues. And Central Groundwater Authority, so this is a body that comes under the Government of India, okay, Ministry of Jal Shakti, to task to monitor and ensure remedial actions. कि ये लोग ठीक से काम कर रहे हैं कि नहीं? Who? The state governments. Okay. Arsenic is actually, sometimes we put arsenic under the category of metals. Metal pollution में क्या क्या आता है ना? Arsenic pollution is a case of metal pollution. But if we use the chemistry framework, in that framework arsenic is not a metal. Arsenic is a metalloid or a semi-metal. It is neither a metal nor a non-metal. Okay, or semi-metal, because it shows both the properties of a metal and a non-metal. What are the other such elements? Arsenic, the symbol is As, antimony is B, silicon, the most popular metal or element which is a backbone of semiconductors, silicon and germanium. Okay, these are important metalloids. So let's forget about that. Let's focus on the pollution part. Fluorine or fluoride. Fluorine is the element F, fluorine, and fluoride is the F minus, the ionic form in which fluorine exists. It is the most electronegative element in the periodic table. That means it has a strong willingness to accept electrons. And there is a threshold, because some amount of fluoride ions in the water is essential. It's good for your dental health. But beyond that threshold level, it becomes very toxic. So you can see the threshold level for fluoride ion is very high as compared to arsenic. 1.5 mg तक body tolerate कर सकता है, and in a way it is healthy. For arsenic the threshold is very low, 0.01, क्योंकि थोड़ा सा भी होगा it becomes unsafe. Ways of contamination: arsenic enters soil through natural biogenic processes, okay, biological process, and also geologically through leaching. Fluoride originates from mineral leaching in rocks. Fluoride भी arsenic की तरह leaching हो सकता है. So leaching is means when there is denudation agent is your water, it can mix with water and leave the rock, parent rock, and it gets mixed with the nearby bodies. Okay. Anthropogenic sources include fertilizers, waste, and cow dung. Okay. For fluoride ion. Health impact क्या हो सकता है? It causes respiratory, cardiac, and gastrointestinal health issues. Which one? Arsenic. And fluorosis leads to dental skeletal deformities, disability. Sometimes it can also cause a problem of hunchback or bending of spine. So you can see fluoride contamination can cause problems related to your skeletal framework, skeleton and spine mostly, or dental health. It is good for your dental health. At the same time, if it has attained toxic levels, it can harm your dental health. Okay, it can promote or facilitate dental degradation. But arsenic contamination often creates problems related to gastrointestinal and respiratory. Okay, really new researches are also being taking place. We really don't know what the negative impacts can be. They can be broad ranged, but mostly these methods. Okay, ex-situ. Once the water is released, you can use filter to absorb the contaminant. Ex-situ, water is released, it's not at site. In situ means where the water is about to be released. You can use permeable reactive barriers, so that from there only arsenic and fluoride ions are removed. Okay. Alternative solutions include dilution and artificial recharge. As you know, if arsenic concentration is say 1 mg per liter and you can dilute it, हम इसको 10,000 बना देंगे, और इसमें 9,999 liters of water we can add. So what will be the ultimate concentration? Arsenic will be 1 mg divided by pure water itna plus the existing one. It will become 0.001. Okay, or 0.001 000. ठीक है, 1 by 10,000 हो गया. So that is the effect of dilution. Now the last main news, which is about gene therapy for genetic hearing loss approved. It is very interesting. Okay, and this therapy has been approved, not yet in use. So what is genetic impairment of hearing loss or genetic impairment of hearing? That means hearing loss can be due to many reasons. It can be due to an accident. Maybe you heard an explosion. It was so loud that it affected your hearing sense. But if it is due to a genetic effect, due to the lack of a particular protein or the dysfunctionality of a particular protein which is present in your inner ear, that can be corrected using gene therapy. And this gene therapy is allowed because it does not affect your germ cells. Germ cells means corrections made to an embryo, which can be passed on to the next generation. And there is a fear that people can go for such techniques to create designers babies as per your wish. Okay, this is not allowed. This therapy is called somatic cell therapy. That means it's not going to affect your sperm or egg. This will affect that part of the body only. You're not going to pass it on to your next generation. Usi generation mein the correction will take place, but the disorder is inherited from your parents. Try to understand this particular problem. Let's go to the next page. This disorder is called OTOF or otoferlin. Okay, otoferlin, this is the name of the gene. And as you know, what are genes? I'm just slightly digressing. I'll come back to where I stopped in the last slide. Genes are actually segments of DNA or nucleotides. Okay, and they are present on your chromosomes. These genes 1 to 2% of the human genome genes, they encode some sort of proteins, and proteins are very essential for the functioning of your body. Genes encode proteins, not all of them, but some of them, which are very essential. And if there is a malfunction, if the genetic material is distorted, it won't encode that protein. It won't encode. That's why we need genetic interference only to correct the gene so that proteins are functionally produced. Or proteins, even if they're produced, they're not of the functional level. Okay, so that is why this somatic cell therapy will serve as an intervention. And here we are talking about hearing sense. Okay, so if a particular child inherits 2 copies of faulty genes from his or her parents, he'll have this hearing loss. 2 copies. Every gene has normally 2 copies. One from the father and one from the mother. This is just for illustration. They're not F or M. And these are called alleles. Alleles are nothing but the copies of a gene. And if both the genes are faulty, you will have hearing loss. If at least one of the genes is faulty and the other is okay, then you won't have. And such disorders in which disorders appear or occur when both the copies of the gene are faulty are called recessive disorders. Very important, you have to focus on genetics. It's interesting and important also. Recessive disorders. Why? Because the disorders can only take place if both the copies of the gene are affected. Otherwise, if there are many disorders which can take place only if you have one copy of the gene, and these are called dominant disorders. Okay, and this is not related to sex chromosome, this particular disease, this OTO gene disorder. This is related to your autosomes, that means non-sex chromosomes. Okay, so you understood, an individual who is affected by this disorder gets faulty genes from his parents, but when the correction takes place, the treatment, it is not moved on to the next generation. It takes place only at that generation, and the correction takes place here, जहाँ पे problem है वहीं पे. Okay, not in your germ cells. So OTF gene produces protein called otoferlin, which processes sound signals into electrochemical signals to your brain. कोई भी wave आता है अपने कान तक पहुंचता है, and then because of this protein, your brain is able to interpret the sound signals. Okay, it is like natural signal processing. Natural signal processing. That is what the function of this gene is. The protein is. And the protein is encoded by a gene. वो gene अगर काम ही नहीं करेगा, the genes, there will be no such protein. And then you will not be able to hear. Okay. And how is it corrected? As I mentioned, as I said before that, otoferlin converts vibrations into brain interpretable signals. Otoferlin is the name of the protein, and from that the first 4 letters have been used to name the gene. Defective gene copies cause severe to profound hearing loss, and 2 to 8% inherited जितने भी हैं non-syndromic hearing cases, they are because of this OTOF gene disorder distortion. Okay, 2 to 8%, and there is a way to correct it. You are going to use viruses for that. Now you can say that all viruses are not harmful. Some viruses are very helpful. Though छोटे viruses are of course very small. They are of the nanometer scale. These viruses will carry the genetic material that is required to correct the gene, and they will be inserted into your ear. Okay, the affected ear. And then as soon as the genes get corrected, they'll start producing otoferlin and you'll be able to hear. This part is also very interesting, and a related question was asked in the UPSC. This therapy is called dual AAV1 vector based. This is adeno associated virus. Okay, this is a very helpful virus. I mean, you can say not helpful, harmless virus. That is why we are using it. So ultimately, it's a helpful virus. This virus is a vector. Okay, as you know, these distortions are taking place at the genetic level, which are very smaller than a normal human cell. Human cell के अंदर आता है न्यूक्लियस, न्यूक्लियस के अंदर क्रोमोसोम, क्रोमोसोम के अंदर you have genes. So you have to reach that nano level, only then you will be able to correct the disorder. You cannot work or function at a mega level. And this is not a medicine. This is some genetic material inserted into your body through a virus. The virus will act like a courier guy or a delivery person. He will deliver the required genetic material and the material will reach the site, the genes will be corrected. Okay, that is the mechanism. Restores autophalan production and auditory signaling. Gene therapy inserts genes into cells to treat diseases. Vectors act as couriers delivering therapeutic genetic material. Viral भी हो सकता है, non-viral भी हो सकता है, but most popular है this one. Okay, the one that has been approved includes a virus. Okay, you need something to deliver the material, and viruses are not living organisms. They become living only when they enter your body, and they're very good at entering human body. That is why we're using them. So that's it. There is a problem and there is a genetic cure. That was the entire story about. In 2015, a question came about nanotechnology in health sector. Which of the following statements is or are corrected? Targeted drug delivery is made possible by nanotechnology. There is nothing to think about it. It's correct. Nanotechnology can largely contribute to gene therapy. We saw one example. It was asked in 2015. So that time maybe the question was not that easy. So both statements 1 and 2 are correct. Okay. So here we have covered all the main news. Now let's quickly go through the place in the news, which is Egypt. Egypt was in the news because of some joint defense cooperation, but that's why we have to focus on Egypt, and today it is the place in the news. India and Egypt advanced defense cooperation through the 11th Joint Defense Committee meeting in Cairo. It's a North African Arabic nation. Okay, so often we think that Arab nations are present in the Middle East, in West Asia, but Egypt is also an Arab nation, and most of the North African nations are Arabic nations or Arab nations. Okay? The capital is Cairo. Why? Because they speak Arabic. That is the primary or official language. And as you can see, it shares border with Libya. Libya lies to its west, and this is Sudan. It's not visible here in the map. Okay, it lies to the south of Egypt, and here you can see Israel. It is connected with Israel through Sinai Peninsula. Peninsula is any landmass that is covered by water on its 3 sides. Here you can see this is a landmass which is covered with water bodies on its 3 sides. This one, and this one. This is called Sinai Peninsula. If ever a question is asked, कि Sinai Peninsula किसका part है? It's Egypt. The capital is Cairo, and as you can see, the famous Suez Canal, which connects Mediterranean Sea and Red Sea, it is present here. Okay. Land boundaries: Libya, Sudan, and Gaza Strip. Gaza Strip is this one, controversial region, which is a part of the Palestine, but it has a dominance of the Israeli Defense Force. The largest lake is Nasser Lake, which is artificial, and this lake forms a part of Ashwan Dam. Major river is Nile. Nile Delta is located at northern end of the river, where it empties into Mediterranean Sea. Because Nile travels a long distance, okay, it ends here, empties into Mediterranean. And Sahara Desert also, which is covers most of the North Africa, covers a small part of Egypt. The first quick update is about procurement of pulses. As you know, India is the largest producer, consumer, and importer of pulses. So what does it show? These facts, what do they show? They show that pulses are an important part of every Indian's diet. We produce so much, but we eat so much that we need more. Okay, that is why this concept, this scheme we came up with, I think it was announced in Union Budget 2024-25, if I'm not wrong. Atmanirbharta in pulses. Okay, that means we are going to be self-sufficient, and for that we need to promote the cultivation of pulses so that it will also target farmers' income. Okay, farmers will earn better because pulses are normally higher valued than cereals. It will reduce our imports, so our CAD will also improve, current account deficit. Okay, and we'll also be protected from supply shocks, because you know we are living in a troubled world. So Atmanirbharta pulses क्या करता है? It targets 3 different types of pulses. One is your tur dal, second is your urad, and third is moong. Okay, you can use this acronym to remember it. TUM. Okay, and the target year, there are 6 consecutive target years starting from 2025 to 31. So recently it started in Bihar, and in Bihar pulses are going to be procured, and they have started with moong, I guess. Okay, they have started with moong, and but you just need to know everything about this particular scheme. And Atmanirbharta Pulses Mission is a central sector scheme, completely sponsored by the and funded by the central government. This much is enough. Second is strategic importance of the Malacca Strait. Again, I said no particular reason, but this is again a vulnerable area, as there is a probability that China may launch an attack on Taiwan. People are saying, okay, but we really don't know the truth. But there is an ongoing crisis. Strait of Hormuz is affected. So just like Strait of Hormuz, which has become a choke point means it has the ability to affect global trade. It can choke it. It can choke the free movement of goods on the oceans and seas. Okay. Similarly, another choke point is your Malacca Strait, which is present between the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. It serves as a gateway between the Indian Ocean and Pacific Ocean, and it connects Andaman Sea, which is a part of the Indian Ocean, and South China Sea, which is a part of the Pacific Ocean. इन दोनों को connect करता है. A strait is a water body, a thin water body which connects two larger water bodies. That is the definition of a strait. Okay, it connects Indian Ocean to South China Sea, handles 25% of the global trade and 30% of maritime trade. Okay, and it's very crucial for the Far East. China, Japan, South Korea, their oil imports pass through this strait. Especially China's 80% oil imports pass through these straits. So it can play a very important part. It still plays a very important part in the geopolitics of Asia Pacific. And the narrowest point in the strait is, it's called, I think, Phillips Channel. See, 2.7 kilometers. That means if you stand and if there is the waves are not very high, you can see the other point. It's so narrow from the point of view of a saline water body. The surrounding countries include क्या क्या कर सकते हैं? Can you guess? Malaysia, Indonesia, and Singapore. Next is national action for mechanized sanitation ecosystem. As you know, manual scavenging is a crime and illegal in India. Whoever practices it, I mean, those who practice it are victims, and those who make the victims do this can be penalized or punished. Okay, so it has been banned in India, because that means scavenging means you have to enter the toilets or latrines to remove fecal material using your hand, buckets and mugs. It's very dangerous and it's dehumanizing. And there is this caste angle to this issue also. 92% of the people who are involved in manual scavenging are from the lower castes. Okay, so and it's terrible. If you have ever seen that, so many people have died actually while cleaning latrines because of the poisonous gases that are emitted, like hydrogen sulfide, methane. Okay, that is why the government came up with this scheme called Namaste scheme, and it was in the news because 90,000 sanitation workers have been verified. Everything is going to be mechanized. They don't have to use their hands, and they don't have to go deep into the toilets or latrines. Okay, now they have also been provided with PPE kits, personal protection equipments. Okay, so these are the salient features of the scheme called Namaste scheme. It was introduced in 2023-24, 3 years ago, and it was launched as a central sector scheme, just like your Atmanirbharta Pulses. Okay, and it is an initiative of two different ministries. Your Ministry of Urban Affairs, Urban and Housing Affairs, and Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, and Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. Okay, remember this. So achieve zero deaths in sanitation work. That is one of the primary targets of the scheme. And to make latrine cleaning totally mechanized, or sanitation ecosystem absolutely mechanized. Next is this frog species which was discovered in Namdapa, which is in Arunachal Pradesh. Most of the times you see frog species being discovered in the Western Ghats. Okay, this time it is Namdapa. But both Western Ghats and the northeast region of India are biodiversity hotspots. There are 4 biodiversity hotspots, as you know: the Himalayas, the Western Ghats, the Indo-Burma region, under which northeast falls, and then close to Andaman it's called Sundaland. Please remember, these are the 4 important biodiversity hotspots associated with India. So it's very natural, if it's rich in biodiversity, there's so many flora and fauna species, many species remain undiscovered, are yet to be discovered. And recently this Limnonectis genus frog has been discovered. There are 6 such frog species. Limnonectis, slightly difficult to pronounce, and I just checked on the internet. It means these frogs have a very special facial appearance. Their tongues have something like similar to a fork, okay, or you can say fang, just like samp ka hota na, the incisors, similar to that. The frogs have something like that, and they build nests. Okay, so if a question is asked, you don't need to memorize all the names, just try to focus on genus name. For example, in Panthera tigris or Leo, you just need to focus on the genus name, which is the first name, which is called Panthera. You don't need to remember all the scientific names, the zoological names and botanical names. Okay, belongs to fanged frog or jaw projections. India has now 6 species of Limnonectis genus. It highlights Indo-Burma biodiversity hotspot importance. So such a question can be asked. You never know, because UPSC keeps asking factual questions. We recently seen in the news, Limnonectis is a genus of which of the following living organisms? Butterflies, fish, frogs, snakes. So you know the answer, it's frogs. I can never say that don't try to memorize the names of zoological names or botanical names. You never know what UPSC can ask. So, but this is not of high priority. If you have sufficient time, then go for it, otherwise you can skip. United Nations SCAP GDP projection for India. Again, before going through the points under this particular heading, I'd like to request you that you don't need to memorize the GDP forecast by all the bodies. So there is the economic survey, okay, that means the Ministry of Finance, then there is the RBI, the Indian bodies, then there is IMF, World Bank. You don't need to memorize all the forecasts. I would suggest simply ignore this, but because it has been covered, okay, for example, first priority होगा economic survey का growth forecast, second होगा RBI, and RBI keeps updating because it has its quarterly review and semi-annual review. Then you have IMF and World Bank. They also keep reviewing their updates. You will get confused. Okay, I would suggest, it has shown India in good light that India's is macroeconomically stable because the inflation is under control, and on the basis of that, it has projected which body? United Nations Economic and Social Council for Asia Pacific, ki 6.4% this year and 6.6% next year. Okay, but again 6.6, 6.9, so many projections, you'll get confused. I would suggest only stick to these 4 maximum. Most importantly, economic survey and World Bank or IMF. One Indian body and one global body. The World Bank has revised downwards India's growth outlook for the current financial year to 6.6%. पहले दिखाए थे कि 7.2 होगा, but now you know what, because of the international turmoil, it has made the projection downward. Similarly, but RBI has shown some optimism, and as you know that the GDP series in India, they have undergone some changes. The base year has been changed from 2011 to 11-12 to 2022-23. Very important. Okay, but despite the changes, these changes are not going to affect India's growth rate. Okay, again my request, you can use your own brains. Just try to focus upon the projections of one Indian body, that is the Ministry of Finance, released every year in economic survey, and IMF and World Bank, or maybe RBI. Tornado in Oklahoma, in Brahman is a region in Oklahoma, and Oklahoma is a south central state in the United States. And here we need to focus upon what is, don't need to memorize the name. What is a tornado? Tornado is actually a violent storm which is like which is a vortex, which is very much like a cyclone, but cyclone is it has a large extent. Tornadoes are like just like the size of a small room, but they are very violent. Okay, so there is a vortex, as you can see the shape of tornado. It moves like this, and here there is no role of Coriolis force, as Coriolis force acts when you have a large extent. Movement is across the latitudes. Okay, only then the winds will bend. Here there is everything that the most important factor in the case of tornadoes is vertical shear. A strong difference in the wind speeds of this layer and this layer and this layer. Only that will give rise to tornadoes. And the wind speed can be 400 kilometers or close to 250 miles per hour. Very destructive, often associated with thunderstorms. They last only a few minutes, but they can be immensely destructive. Strong wind shear चाहिए इसके लिए. In the case of cyclone, you don't need wind shear. Okay, rather there has to be no wind shear, but you need Coriolis force. Only then there will be some bending. Okay, you know that whenever wind moves, the Coriolis force acts perpendicular to it, and that's why the direction of the wind changes. है ना? Warm, moist air. This is a common requirement for both tornadoes and cyclones, and instability in the atmosphere. Okay. Holy relics of Tathagat Buddha means Gautam Buddha to be taken to Ladakh for public exposition. Tathagat Buddha is same as Gautam Buddha. Tathagat means the one who came and who went. It also signifies the state of enlightenment. I think UPSC has asked in the past about different synonyms of Gautam Buddha. Like the Gautam Buddha, Tathagat, then Shakya Muni. These are all the synonyms of the name of the various names of Gautam Buddha. He's called Tathagat, means it's derived from Sanskrit. A name for Gautam Buddha, that means who came. Tathagat, Gat means Avgat Hona, it means something that has gone. Okay, that means he came and he went. He came in a different form and went in a different form after attaining enlightenment. Okay, that is the closest meaning. I might be slightly, I have very little doubt, but that is the exact meaning. But the literal meaning is the one who has gone. Okay. And he is called Gautam because of his tribe or clan name Gautama, and his name of his maternal aunt was also Gautami. And he is called Shakya Muni because he was born into Shakya clan. So these are the various names of Gautam Buddha. Nobody is going to ask you about the public exhibition that is going to take place in Ladakh. And what are holy relics? So relics are those personal belongings or bodily remains of important saints or martyrs. Okay, they can be bodily remains, hair हो सकता है, nail हो सकता है, bones हो सकता है, because the soft tissues get destroyed, or personal belongings. They have symbolic meanings. Okay, because most of the Buddhist stupas which were constructed in the late BC during the Ashokan times, they based on or housed the relics of Gautam Buddha. Okay. Credit Guarantee Fund Trust for Micro and Small Enterprises or MSMEs. And I hope you all remember the categorization of MSMEs. They're very crucial for the growth of India's economy. They contribute to 30% of the India's GDP and 40% of exports and 45% of manufacturing. So it's very important to give them facilitative loans. Why? Because we are focusing upon Atmanirbharta, indigenization. And you'll be surprised to know the big companies are not, they don't form the backbone of Atmanirbharta. Rather the MSMEs are. And you need to understand the classifications of MSMEs. Okay, MSME का classification क्या होता है? Micro, small, medium. The criteria keep changing. Okay, and in India it's based on investment and turnover. It's very confusing. So which companies can be called micro enterprises, which can be called small, and which can be medium? If the investment is 2.5 and turnover is 10, less than 10 and up to 2.5 crore, it's micro. If it's I think 25 and 100, 25 crore maximum investment and 100 crore turnover. Turnover is the amount produced by the company, and investment is what is the input and output. And maximum 100 is small, and 125 maximum investment and 5 crore turnover, then it's a micro, small, medium enterprise. Before that, after that, they become big companies. Okay, so that is why it's very important to give them loans. And this body was created 25 years ago by SIDBI and the Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises to provide collateral-free loans. That means you don't need to mortgage anything to get loans. Okay, and it has achieved really well. It has, I think, on the basis of the proposal which was laid forward by this particular body, there have been so far 1 crore accounts. That means MSMEs which have applied for loans, and the amount disbursed so far is 6 lakh crore. That means on an average, every account gets 6 lakh rupees. The amount may vary. I'm talking about the average amount. Okay, and loans are available without any collateral. So it's very important for the point of view, from the point of view of the growth of MSMEs in India. Okay, that's it. And MSME is the second largest employer after agriculture in India. Although you have disguised unemployment in agriculture, no real value addition, but in MSMEs you need people, skilled people also, who can contribute to the growth. So these are the facts you need to memorize to write a good answer. You can put these facts in your introduction also if the question is asked on MSME. That's all about today's news today. Now digital current affairs, try to make the most of it. Now 6 questions will flash on your screen. Do take them. Wish you all the very best.